Welcome back to a new episode in my series RedAux Reviews, where me and sometimes the kids create brief 5-minute only reviews of the games we've been playing. You'll be hearing us give our thoughts on new games and retro games, and you'll hear our pros and cons from different points of view. Today's game is Gunman's Proof for the Super Famicom. Gunman's Proof is a 1997 Japanese video game released for the Super Famicom. It was one of the latest releases for the Super Famicom. It was never released outside of Japan. Stylized as the American West, this story begins with a young boy wandering around in the fields near his town when a spaceship meteorite thing falls from the sky and like a bunch of monsters attack. The boy allows himself to be basically possessed by two alien sheriffs named Zero and Goro, and you're going to begin your journey to remove all of the evil invading demi-seeds which have been wreaking havoc on the town and the townspeople where our hero lives. Then the player's adventure begins in the style of A Link to the Past. Visit the main town, talk to some NPCs, do a little shopping, and search for the first dungeon on the overworld map. All in all, the experience of this game is highlighted with quirky music tracks, difficult dungeon bosses, and funny dialogue. Let's break these key elements down one at a time, starting with the dialogue. Right off the bat in this game, there's a lot of story to soak up. One thing I found a little difficult is that the opening dialogue scroll zooms past the screen. Hold on, story, wait for me! But once you get into the game itself, the dialogue is thorough and it's easy to advance with a button push, so this is only really a short-term issue. There's lots of examples in this game of silly, quirky dialogue. The difficulty level in this game seems very accessible for players, except maybe once or twice. In general, the game gives you time to level up, get some gentle hints, has some guidance, and you're able to, after a couple attempts, master each area of the game. However, the exception to this rule, in my opinion, is some of the dungeon bosses. Due to the health system and the game mechanics, which I don't want to spoil for you all, I've often found myself, during that first playthrough, getting to the dungeon boss without much health. And then it becomes really easy to get totally wrecked over and over and over again as you learn the specific way to navigate the dungeon effectively and beat the boss. It's difficult to tell sometimes if you're doing damage to the boss or not, and I was grateful for a little help here and there in getting through these areas from folks with more experience in the game. Let me be clear here though, I don't think this really detracted from the game experience at all. Instead, it was a way to continue to challenge your skills. I keep using that word upbeat in my reviews to describe the music. However, I think it still applies here. You'll find yourself whistling the town music and overworld themes, dancing in your seat side to side to the boss battle music, and overall smiling at the cowboy movie-inspired themes. The game's cheerful color palette combined with the cartoony animations makes me think about when I used to watch Saturday morning cartoons as a kid, and they had those Western-themed spoof episodes, maybe on the Tiny Toons Adventures or on Animaniacs. And somehow also at the same time reminds me of that time that the Doc dressed Marty up in Back to the Future 3 in hot pink and fringe before sending him back to 1885. All in all, this game has a quirky, tongue-in-cheek style of both music and game design that's really appealing and has a great sense of humor. I imagine now, as you're watching some of the footage from this game, you might be thinking to yourself, hey, this looks a lot like Link to the Past, and you wouldn't be wrong. However, unlike Zelda games of the time where you basically have items or magic and your main character brandishes a sword, in Gunman's Proof, you purchase weapons and they're basically all guns. Machine guns, pistols, double punch thingamabob, even a flail? It's pretty funny indeed. The weapon selection mechanic adds interest and replayability to this game, and I imagine I'll pick a different loadout for my future playthrough of this game and try all the different weapons. In the dungeons, you don't really explore for power-ups, also like in a traditional Zelda. Instead you find treasure? Great for points, but otherwise, as far as I can tell, most of the dungeon items, with few exceptions, don't advance the game in any way. All in all, Gunman's Proof is an exceptional little game that I'm glad I had the opportunity to check out. Once again, I found myself wishing there was just one more level and one more boss, one more area to explore, maybe even one more time to pick up a carrot. and the humorous dialogue, which borders sometimes on PG to PG-13 at times, has bright music tracks, stylized 16-bit level designs, and really culminates in a delightful action-adventure experience. I'm still grateful that I had the opportunity to play this fun little game, and I'm looking forward to returning to it someday and hanging out once again with my favorite Sailor Moon horse.